Okay, is this good? Hold up 1 second. Where are you going? On your way down? No, not me. I just got back. I'm up here in the recycled air for 6 months. Uh-huh. What's that? Is that the new Type 3? Did they just come in? No, actually, I think it looks like something I played laser tag with when I was a teenager. You need to get one of these. Yeah, it's an antique. You know why? Because it's durable. It'll never fail you. I don't know, see if you can find an old-timer who'll trade you theirs for one of those pop guns. Hell no, find another old-timer. Alright, don't have too much fun down there now. Watch yourself. Sorry about that. Okay, one more second, I see somebody else. Doc! Doc! Let me know when she's out of the woods, okay? I appreciate it. Now I'm good to go. I am Chief Petty Officer Jeremy Hewson. I was born in Scottsville on Zeta Theta 4. My parents were both from Earth. After high school, I enlisted in Starfleet, went through basic training at Starbase Polk on Huamantla 7, took advanced security training at the Starfleet Academy campus on Tau Ceti F, and it's been one assignment to the next ever since for over 25 years. I'm currently stationed here at Andraor, where I'm doing border security. As you just heard, I've recently returned from my surface rotation. For the next 6 months, I'll be up here monitoring things from the eye in the sky. So, I probably won't be needing this. I hope not. Andraor is an unusual case. Its star system is located right on the Federation-Mexican border, and by treaty it belongs to both. The Federation controls the northern hemisphere, and the Mexicans control the southern hemisphere. Up until a few years ago, I'm told anyway, I wasn't here, everything was fine. People were allowed to cross the border freely. If someone on the Mexican side needed something on the Federation side, they could just go get it. Then there was all that with the supernova and Romulus and the refugee crisis and that attack on Mars by those androids that went haywire and, well, I don't need to say what everybody already knows. The Federation Council enacted a new border policy that says nobody comes in without authorization, and that includes Andraor. Which, and I know not everybody feels this way, but it makes sense to me. You might think, what does this place have to do with the Romulans or the Mars attack? But the truth is, Andraor is a security risk. Mexicans are virtually identical to humans, outside and in. Even the organs are in the same places. Mostly. Their lungs are where our kidneys are, and their kidneys are where our lungs are, but who's going to notice that? The point is, not just humans and Mexicans, lots of humanoids look like this. Many come from Federation planets, many don't. Also, it's possible some might be androids. I've seen intelligence reports, unverified, but they sounded plausible to me, that it's possible now to build androids that can pass for flesh and blood people. I've never seen one myself, but then again, how would I even know? Point is, when you look like this, it's real easy to blend in, and there's a land border down there, and once you walk over to the north side of it, you're in Federation territory. If you're someone who looks human and you have bad intentions, that's a very easy way to get in, unless we guard the border, which now we do. Is there any evidence that someone who crossed the border illegally has been responsible for crimes against Federation citizens? Well, no. Not that I know of. Crime of any kind is relatively rare in the Federation, and what few criminals we do have are more likely to be from the Federation or in Federation territory legally than to be here illegally. And, I mean, look at the attack on Mars. Those killer androids were manufactured in the Federation. For all I know, they were manufactured right there on Mars. You can't get more homegrown than that. Or home-built, I guess. But just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen. A weak spot in your shields is a weak spot in your shields, even if nobody has noticed it and taken a shot at it. With all the threats we face, do we really want an open border? Especially on a planet like Andraor, where anyone could arrive on the Mexican side and just walk across into the Federation? The people who consider what we're doing here to be overkill need to think about that. There's an old saying that applies to what we're doing here: a pound of prevention is worth an ounce of cure. At least I think that's how it goes. It's an old saying. I don't think anyone even says it anymore. It's not always a fun job, especially if you're in border enforcement, which I was while I was on the planet for the last 6 months. Border enforcement basically means finding people on the Federation side of the border who are suspected of having crossed over without authorization. Most people who live here, especially in settlements close to the border, have been here for a long time, and they're more used to the border being open and people being able to pass back and forth as they please. Some of them aren't too happy to see the border enforcement team show up. The unauthorized visitors we're there to find aren't happy to see us either, but they're mostly cooperative once they see us and realize the jig is up. I wonder how many of them have been androids that were just programmed to comply with the authorities when caught. It's the bystanders I'm always trying to keep one eye on. The last time I was out on an enforcement action, which was just this morning as a matter of fact, it got a little ugly and a crowd gathered, and it didn't get violent, but man, the things those people were yelling, calling us fascists, tyrants, traitors. Traitors! How can we be traitors when we're just enforcing the law? And fascists? Tyrants? We don't have those in the Federation. I mean, we do sometimes, here and there, but it always turns out to be shapeshifters, or mind-controlling parasites, or a secret faction conspiring with agents of other governments, or like 2 or 3 admirals, tops. They're the exceptions. One of these days it'll be people who turn out to be evil androids in disguise. Despite our best efforts. That's the next one, you wait. But we don't do that sort of thing anymore. We've evolved beyond the need to oppress others. Didn't they get the memo out here? Some people must have gotten it, because I'm here to tell you, since I've been here, there's been no shortage of people trying to get across that border into Federation territory. It's an all-day, everyday job, which is why we have guards watching the border from the ground and from orbit on a constant basis. Sometimes it's individuals or small groups trying to get across on their own. Sometimes they've got help. We've learned to keep a sharp eye out for coyotes, for example. They're everywhere, on both sides of the border, crossing back and forth all the time. And the Andraor coyote is so big you can fit 3 or 4 full-grown adults inside one, so it's a problem for us. I know this closed border policy isn't popular with some people, but it was passed by a majority of the Federation Council. And those members are democratically elected by the people of every Federation planet. If it was really that fascist and tyrannical, would all those citizens be supporting it? However you feel about the policy, I am the last person you should be mad at over it. I don't make the rules. I just try to make sure people follow them. I have a job to do. And when I stop someone from crossing the border without authorization, or if I'm on the enforcement team and I apprehend someone who has crossed the border illegally and turn them over to detention, it doesn't matter if they're a Mexican or a Nolvankian, they also look exactly like humans, or a Zingwazulian, they look human except that they all have naturally iridescent hair, which is a tell, but also, hats are a thing. It doesn't even matter if they are an android diabolically designed and constructed to look exactly like a human, which apparently anybody could be, even someone I've known for years, because you could just program them with memories and a personality, right? It doesn't matter. If I apprehend someone, it's nothing personal. In fact, I consider it a very important part of my job to make that entire process as comfortable for the individual as possible. For example, take the job I was on today, which we finished right before I came back up here. We got a tip that a family from Wilgon 2 had arrived on Andraor on the Mexican side and crossed the Federation border without authorization. Say it with me, Wilgonians look exactly like humans. We tracked them to the home of a human man who we'd suspected of hiding these unauthorized migrants from the Mexican side for some time. This morning we go to his house, he opens the door, lets us right in. I explain why we're there, as if he doesn't know, and I say, "Sir, can we search your home for these Wilgonians?" He says yes. We spend hours searching this guy's house. We turn that place upside down, figuratively and literally at one point, just to make sure. And there's no sign of those Wilgonians. The enforcement team huddles up in this guy's living room. We're trying to decide what to do, what's going on here. Did we get some bad intel somehow? Are these Wilgonians not here? Were they here and they left already? That's when I noticed that this guy has a transporter pad in his kitchen. That's an anomaly. It's two anomalies, really. Who has a transporter pad in their kitchen? If your house isn't big enough to have a dedicated transporter room, you put the transporter pad in the living room by the front door. Or, actually, when I was a kid, our transporter was in a spare closet just off the living room. And when visitors beamed in, they'd knock on the closet door, and then we'd open the door, just like we would for someone who was at the front door. It was really cool. Never got old. Anyway, the second anomaly is the important one. People who live on Andraor don't have transporters, because you can't use them here. The planet's electromagnetic field interferes with the signal, so you can't safely beam anywhere on Andraor. Not down to, not up from, and not from site to site. That's why we have to take shuttles up and down. So why does this guy have a transporter in his house? I ask him. He says, it's not a transporter, it's a replicator. Come on. I'm not an undetectable stealth android that just came online within the last 24 hours. I wasn't born yesterday. I know the largest home replicator I've ever seen isn't in the kitchen of this dude who lives a few kilometers away from the Federation-Mexican border. It's in the apartment of this Ferengi guy I met in Basic, who eventually washed out, moved back home, and started a bespoke sex droid business that he runs out of his spare bedroom, but that's neither here nor there. So I pull this guy aside, and I just talk to him. I don't yell. I don't try to intimidate. That's not our way. I talk to him like a human being, which I'm assuming he was, but even if he was a secret android, I would have talked to him the same way. I tell him I know what he's doing. I tell him we're not here to hurt anyone. I understand he has good intentions, but intentions are what they are, and what you do is what you do, and we're just enforcing the law. I ask him where's the control panel for that transporter, and he doesn't want to tell me at first. I have to ask him a few more times, which I do, nicely. And finally he tells me, and sure enough, the Wilgonians we're looking for are stored, dematerialized in the pattern buffer. We rematerialize them, a married couple, 2 adult Wilgonian men, and their daughter, who is 5 years old. Another guy on my team pulls them aside and talks to them. They fled Wilgon 2 a couple of weeks ago to escape the chaos that followed the collapse of the government there. They were hoping to slip unnoticed into the Federation and get established on one of the outer colonies. Can't say I blame them for trying. And a few years ago, they could have just crossed the border and found the nearest Starfleet outpost or ship, and they'd have been automatically put into the system as asylum seekers. And they'd probably have been approved, given their circumstances. But now things are different. Anyway, while my buddy is getting this story from the parents, I'm with the little girl waiting for medical to arrive, because it turns out she has a heart condition that doesn't agree with being held in a transporter buffer for a few hours. Her dads knew this going in, but they risked it because they were so afraid of us catching them and sending them back to Wilgon. The little girl, I ask her name. She tells me it's Jalessa. I tell her I went to school with a girl named Jalessa. She was the prettiest girl I ever saw until now. I never knew anyone named Jalessa before, but I'm just trying to make her smile, keep her spirits up. I say, are you really a little girl from Wilgon 2, or are you an android? Because you have to tell me if you are. I was joking around with that one. Mostly. I scanned her with the tricorder, and she didn't read as an android, but they say some of those new ones are good enough to fool the sensors, so who knows. Medical shows up, they stabilize her, but she's still in serious condition. The rest of the team takes her dads away to process them at detention, while I ride with Jalessa on the shuttle flight here so they can fix her up in our sick bay. My duty shift was over, and I was due to rotate off planet anyway. That's where I was coming from when I met you guys for our deal here. Little Jalessa. I held her hand in the shuttle. I told her that her dads were going to be okay, and she'd be with them again soon. The medics had to sedate her because they were worried about her heart rate getting too high from all the excitement, and as she was going out, I said to her, don't worry. She's going to wake up soon, and everything will be fine because she's in the hands of Starfleet now, and we don't let bad things happen to kids. We're the good guys. If she really is an android, they'd be able to tell that in sickbay, wouldn't they? They can't build them that convincing yet, right? Do you know? I still talk to a friend I met way back on my first deployment, which was to the Koala sector on the USS Dahlonega. She's worked for Starfleet Intelligence for a while now, and she likes to wind me up sometimes, which is what I think she was doing the last time we talked over subspace, because she was saying how, with some of these new androids, they don't know that they're androids. They look convincingly human, or whatever species they're made to look like, I guess. And when they come online for the first time, they've got a lifetime of memories and personality preloaded. So to them, it's like they just woke up on another day, and as far as they're concerned, they're just going on with their life. No clue as to what they really are. And Nora, my friend, she says to me, "Who knows? You might even be one." And I said to her, "You know I can't be one. We've known each other for over 20 years. And she says, "No, I met Jem Hewson." And that's what my friends call me, Jem. She says, "I met Jem Hewson over 20 years ago. How do I know the real Jem hasn't been replaced?" She says to me, "You think you know who you are, but what if you're just thinking and acting how you've been programmed to? Would you even be able to know the difference?" We laughed about it. She knows ever since we started hearing rumors about these covert androids that I've been kind of preoccupied with it, and she likes to give me a hard time. But if you think about it, what she was saying doesn't even make sense, because she makes it sound like androids just do what they're programmed to do, which some of them do, but the more advanced ones, the ones that would be sophisticated enough to pass as organic instead of synthetic, they don't just follow their programming. They can grow beyond their programming. So if I was in that situation, like she was saying, of course I could tell the difference. I'd be able to see beyond my programming, if I had any. Got off on a tangent there, didn't I? The job I'm doing isn't popular with a lot of people in the Federation. If I could say something to those out there who might be watching this, who feel like what we do in border security is a betrayal of our principles or anything like that, I would say, first of all, we're just trying to protect people. It's my job to enforce the law, to make sure everybody is playing by the rules. And I try my best to do that job without hurting anyone. And second of all, I would say that while Starfleet is a little stricter about certain things than it used to be, a little more hardline, it still runs things with reason and empathy, not at the point of one of these. For anyone worrying about what we've become, I'm right in the middle of it. And let me assure you, we haven't changed. We're the same people we've always been. How's that? Good? Did you all need anything else from me right now, or sign the release? Sure. What all do you need here? Just a thumbprint? There you go. Let's see an android pass one of those. I bet they don't even have thumbprints. Do they? Look at him trying to sneak around the corner without talking to me. Doc! Jalessa! How'd it go? How is she, okay? It does that. It's not... I didn't break it. Can you